Hi, I'm Colleen Sheehan, and this is Next Generation Classics. And today, we're preserving the passion through the Ferrari Enzo, the world's first true hypercar. There was the Pope, and then there was Enzo. And I'll explain how those two tie together. So for Ferrari, they would build their more accessible and affordable cars. During this time period, there was the 360 and the 456, among others. But then they had a very exclusive lineup of cars. And the Enzo was definitely one of those. They only built 399 of them, and they were not available for the public to buy no matter how much money you had. You had to be on their special VIP list in order to buy them. And the Enzo fits into what's called the Ferrari Big Five. So that includes the 288 GTO, the F40, F50, Enzo, and then after this was the LaFerrari. And when Ferrari first announced the Enzo, they said we're only building 399 of these cars. But at the end of the production line, Ferrari said, well, we're gonna build one more car and we're gonna give it to the Pope. So in total, they were only supposed to build 399, but they ended up building a total of 400 of the Enzo. There's not a clear definition on what a supercar, hypercar, megacar really is, but it is generally considered that the Enzo was the very first hypercar. As a hypercar, you have to have three basic things. So first, you have to be very limited production, which the Enzo most certainly is. You also have to go very fast and be the highest performing car of that lineup, of that era, which the Enzo definitely was. And you also have to be over $1 million. And this car was about 700,000 when new, but in today's standards, because that was 20 years ago, that would definitely be over $1 million. So it's pretty unquestionable that this falls into the hypercar category. But since there's no exact definition, I'd love to know what you guys think a hypercar is, what defines one, so please leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on that. You might have noticed that this car is not your typical Rosso Corsa, or commonly known as Ferrari Red. So this color is called Rosso F 2007 F1, and it's a color that came out in 2007 specifically for Ferrari's Formula One team. But because this car was made in 2003, that color was not available at the time. So the owner had the car sent back to Zanasi and had it repainted into this color. Shortly after that, the owner then decided to sell, and it was sold to a gentleman here in the US. But this car is not 25 years old, and so it has to meet certain EPA and DOT restrictions. And in order to do that, this car was imported here, and then it was sent to a company called JK Technologies to do all the conversion work. A lot of the work done on the car is not visual. You can't see the work they did to the airbags or smog equipment, but one of the things you can see on the car is these taillights. So on Euro model cars, the outside taillights have an amber cover on them, whereas the interior is clear. But on US cars, they're both clear here. So if you look at the rear of an Enzo, you can tell if it's a Euro or a US model if the taillights have the amber on the outside. Now, this one is a little confusing because it is a Euro model, but the conversion work has been done to it to make it conform to the US specifications. Traditionally, cars' histories were based off of their ownership or their race history. But times have changed, and nowadays, cars, especially modern cars, are tracked through car spotting. So you'll see on social media where cars have been. You'll have guys photograph it and post it online, and it's really kind of cool how you can track a car nowadays through car spotting. So this car in particular, especially because it is the unique color, so it's more noticeable, it has been spotted in Maryland, Chicago, Miami, and LA. So it's really kind of been on a cross-country trek for its life. The engine in the Enzo was really revolutionary for Ferrari. So it's a 6-liter V12 and it produces 651 horsepower. Plus, they made sure that it has ample torque to really like snap your neck, launch you off the line. It's so fast. And it was a new development for them. So they started doing the 65-degree V12, which was different from their traditional 60-degree V12. So they really came up with a completely new engine for this car, and it was all derived straight from F1 technology. So I know I mentioned Zanasi earlier, and I have to explain a little bit about who Zanasi is. So when Ferrari makes special cars, they have their tailor-made program, and Zanasi is their tailor-made paint shop. Zanasi is a little company in Italy that works with Ferrari, and when the Enzos were new, all the Enzos were originally sent to Zanasi to be painted. So when this car was sent back to Zanasi to be repainted into this color, it's kind of like the factory repainted it itself, because the factory didn't paint these cars originally, Zanasi did. Another interesting thing about this car is the F1 technology also transferred over to the brakes. So it's the first time that carbon ceramic brakes were used on a street car. And it had been used for many, many years on their F1 cars, but they decided to add it to the Enzo just to enhance the braking power, because when you have 651 horsepower and just under 3,300 pounds, you better have really good brakes to slow you down. The Ferrari Enzo really did live up to its founder's name, and it's an amazing car. And I'd love to work together to preserve the passion for these cars. So please like and subscribe, and I'll see you very soon.